Good afternoon. My name is Ibrahim Chow. I'm the Executive Secretary of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. It is my honor to have you here to moderate this session, and very pleased to have you in the meeting room. Please take seats if you want to take a seat. It's always welcome to take a seat and listen to the leaders that are around us here. We are very happy that the President of Senegal, His Excellency Mr. Macky Sall, and the President of the Council of Ministers and Prime Minister, whatever the name is, President Pedro Sánchez of Spain, are co-chairing this session and have called for the world to rally around the issue of drought. As you know, droughts are hitting worldwide. There is no country today, no region that is spared by drought or immune to drought. We see that the United States of America has seen its most severe drought in 1,200 years. Europe was hit by the most severe drought in 500 years. And as we speak, people are dying in Somalia and in the Horn of Africa for a drought that they have not seen in the last 40 years. We thought that in the 70s, we would not see again a drought as severe as the one we saw in the 70s. Here we are, 4 years, no rains in the Horn of Africa. Without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to the co-conveners of this session, His Excellency President Macky Sall of Senegal, who is also the President of the African Union, who would deliver his remarks. Mr. President.
Merci beaucoup. Cher Pedro, président du gouvernement espagnol, cher Charles Michel, président du Conseil européen, cher Michel Costa, monsieur le président Olrazouani, chère Ursula von der Leyen, distingués participants, je voudrais me réjouir de porter avec le président Pedro Sánchez cette initiative sur l'Alliance pour la résilience à la sécheresse que nous lançons conjointement à l'occasion de la COP27. Je voudrais remercier tous nos invités ainsi que le secrétaire exécutif pour leur présence qui donne une dimension inclusive et multilatérale à cette initiative. En portant avec l'Espagne ce projet, le Sénégal veut à la fois magnifier ses relations excellentes avec un pays ami et montrer sur un sujet de préoccupation majeure et transfrontalière qu'il est possible de travailler ensemble au-delà du clivage pays développé, pays en développement. On l'a dit, à travers les températures extrêmes, la désertification, les feux de brousse, etc., et autres phénomènes occasionnant des pertes de biodiversité, nous voyons bien que la sécheresse n'est pas qu'une affaire du Nord ou du Sud. En réalité, aucun pays n'est épargné. Selon le dernier rapport du GIEC, rien qu'en Afrique, seulement 700 millions de personnes risquent d'être déplacées d'ici 2030 à cause de la sécheresse. Alors, certaines indications montrent également que des pays développés ont récemment été frappés par les pires formes de sécheresse depuis 800 voire 1200 ans. Dès lors, devant un péril planétaire, il est tout à fait rationnel et possible de travailler ensemble pour apporter des réponses solidaires et concertées. Alors c'est l'objet de l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse. Il s'agit de sonner l'alerte au plus haut niveau, sensibiliser, porter le plaidoyer, encourager le transfert de technologies, partager le savoir-faire et les meilleures pratiques, par exemple l'utilisation économe de l'eau. Et dans cet esprit, j'attire particulièrement l'attention de notre Alliance sur deux points d'importance majeure. Premièrement, la nécessité de soutenir davantage la mise en œuvre de la Convention des Nations Unies sur la lutte contre la désertification dans les pays gravement touchés par la sécheresse ou la désertification. Il est important pour nous que cet instrument ne soit pas laissé pour compte des conventions de la génération Rio 92. C'est pourquoi je salue les efforts que le secrétaire exécutif de la Convention déploie dans ce sens et merci beaucoup. Deuxième remarque, pour terminer, nous souhaitons que l'Alliance contre la sécheresse aide à promouvoir une transition énergétique juste et équitable qui prenne en compte les besoins particuliers de l'Afrique. À titre d'exemple, l'exploitation du gaz, certains pays veulent arrêter au motif de lutter contre le réchauffement climatique, est pour nous un facteur de résilience lorsqu'elle se substitue à la coupe de bois, au charbon de bois qui détruit nos forêts pour la cuisson ou pour d'autres usages. Donc nous devons éviter le dogmatisme. Oui pour le climat, oui pour l'adaptation et naturellement le gaz ne peut s'inscrire que comme une énergie de transition, mais il n'est pas concevable que l'on puisse interdire à des pays dont le niveau de développement est extrêmement bas de pouvoir utiliser des ressources naturelles telles que le gaz pour pouvoir assurer ne serait-ce que l'accès de leur population à l'électricité. Enfin, il nous faut travailler donc ensemble dans un esprit d'ouverture, prenant en compte la diversité des situations pour réaliser nos objectifs communs. Merci encore une fois, cher Pedro Sánchez, et merci à vous tous de votre participation.
Merci à vous, Monsieur le Président Macky Sall, pour votre leadership et merci pour votre vision pour qu'ensemble, nous joignions nos efforts pour lutter contre les effets néfastes de la sécheresse. Sans plus tarder, j'aimerais maintenant donner la parole au président du Conseil espagnol, président Pedro Sánchez, qui est co-organisateur, co-convener, comme on dit en anglais, de cette rencontre. Et encore une fois, merci à l'Espagne et au Sénégal pour votre leadership. Je vous donne la parole.
Merci, muchas gracias. Allow me to speak in Spanish. Quisiera comenzar dando las gracias a mi querido amigo, el presidente de Senegal, Macky Sall, al secretario ejecutivo de la Convención de Naciones Unidas para combatir la desertificación, Ibrahim Tia, y a los gobiernos, a las instituciones que se han adherido a la Alianza Internacional para la Resiliencia ante la sequía. Lo ha dicho el presidente Sall, las sequías severas y prolongadas, las olas de calor, los grandes incendios son las manifestaciones evidentes del impacto devastador que esta emergencia climática global y un anticipo del futuro que nos espera si no reaccionamos a tiempo. Los episodios de sequía que estamos experimentando no tienen precedentes, tampoco la gravedad de sus impactos en casi todos los ámbitos de la vida, de la sociedad o de la economía. Ningún país, por muy alta renta que tenga, es inmune a este fenómeno ni a sus efectos que se agudizan en todo el mundo. El presidente Sall lo ha dicho antes, el Cuerno de África registra 5 años seguidos sin apenas lluvias, exponiendo a 26 millones de personas a la hambruna, a la lucha por la supervivencia y al desplazamiento forzoso. Europa ha sufrido este verano la sequía más severa de los últimos 500 años y las previsiones no son positivas. La severidad de las sequías ha aumentado casi un 30% desde el año 2000 y se espera que aumente aún más debido a los efectos combinados del cambio climático y la degradación de la tierra. Esta tendencia amenaza con convertirse en un factor de una extraordinaria inestabilidad geoestratégica, por los impactos en la seguridad energética, alimentaria, por la exacerbación de los conflictos larvados, por el estrés hídrico y por los desplazamientos forzosos de millones de seres humanos. La aplicación de las nuevas tecnologías es cierto que está contribuyendo a ayudar a prever las sequías de una forma mucho más precisa y, por tanto, podemos actuar antes de que tengan lugar. Necesitamos cambiar el paradigma de las respuestas ante las emergencias, la gestión de las crisis hacia una respuesta anticipatoria y, por tanto, lo que quiero decir es que es la hora de la prevención, de la adaptación y de la cooperación multilateral. La lucha contra la sequía requiere de una mirada y una respuesta multilateral en tres frentes: la política, la científica y la social. Y desde el ámbito de mis responsabilidades como presidente del Gobierno de España, lo que queremos es contribuir a forjar alianzas multilaterales para encontrar soluciones, y la Alianza Internacional de Resiliencia ante la Sequía es una de ellas. Y por eso quiero agradecer y mucho la extraordinaria colaboración que tenemos con el Gobierno de Senegal en el coliderazgo de esta iniciativa. Esta alianza, ¿para qué nos va a servir? Bueno, yo creo que nos puede servir para dar un impulso político, el impulso político necesario que ayude a todos los países, ciudades, comunidades, que estén suficientemente preparadas ante la próxima sequía y que puedan recuperarse rápidamente y prosperar después de ella. En mi propio país vivimos desde hace muchos años la amenaza de la sequía, la escasez de agua, como decía antes el presidente Sall, lo que nos ha obligado a repensar y a prepararnos ante los extremos de sequía y las lluvias torrenciales. La sequía deteriora las condiciones de suelo, esquilma la biodiversidad, pone en peligro el abastecimiento de agua potable y la seguridad alimentaria, y solo una buena preparación y una buena gestión de los recursos hídricos pueden paliar los riesgos que emanan de esta amenaza. Es precisamente porque España sufre plenamente la sequía y también la desertificación que nos hace ser plenamente solidarios con los países en desarrollo que también sufren la sequía. Y, por tanto, compartir nuestra experiencia en la gestión de recursos naturales ha sido siempre una prioridad de la cooperación al desarrollo española. Llevamos décadas, y aquí algunos representantes lo saben, trabajando en la América Latina y en el Caribe para mejorar las capacidades en materia de agua, de meteorología, de hidrología, de cambio climático. En la cuenca mediterránea también lo hacemos sobre gestión sostenible del agua, o en países como el Perú, como Bolivia, como Níger, para compensar la pérdida de suelo. También hemos creado un fondo de transición ecológica para desarrollar soluciones basadas en la naturaleza y, entre otras cosas, promovemos la gestión integral de cuencas a través del Fondo de Cooperación de Agua y Saneamiento. Pero sabemos que aún queda mucho por hacer y por eso mi país, España, se compromete a redoblar esfuerzos, tanto a través de nuestras agencias especializadas como contribuyendo en los planes multilaterales. La cooperación española va a priorizar la acción climática y, sobre todo, la adaptación a esta situación. Y por eso quisiera, secretario general, anunciarles que el Gobierno de España va a comprometer con un capital semilla de 5 millones de euros el impulso a la Alianza Internacional de Resiliencia ante Sequías en su primer año de vida. Animamos, por tanto, a todos los países y organismos internacionales y europeos que nos acompañan a que respalden hoy con la creación de esta alianza y sus recursos. Confiamos que se sigan sumando nuevos países a trabajar conjuntamente en torno a los que son ya nuestros objetivos compartidos. Entre todos, debemos dar la mejor respuesta al cambio climático para proteger la tierra que habitamos, nuestro hogar y nuestros modos de vida. Gracias.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président du Conseil, Pedro Sánchez. L'Espagne joue un rôle extrêmement important et je me rappelle le 17 juin dernier à Madrid, lorsque nous avons célébré la journée internationale de la sécheresse et de la désertification, vous avez joué aussi un rôle extrêmement important et nous vous sommes reconnaissants. Vous connaissez la règle des réunions internationales, les 3 minutes. Je voudrais donner la parole au maximum de personnes qui veulent s'exprimer dans cette salle. La première étant, sur ma liste, étant la présidente de la Commission de l'Union européenne, Madame Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you very much for this excellent initiative, and I really want to thank you for starting it. We all know that desertification is becoming a massive crisis. Fertile lands are turning into dust. And as you've said, Pedro, we see it also in Europe. 15% of our land by now, 17% of our population are directly hit by the increasing drought that we see. And we know the reason why this happened. It is the way that our economy is warming the planet that creates these extreme weather phenomenon. We also know that scientists tell us we have still a window, but this is a window that is closing. So the urgency is so important. But we can act, and we cannot only act by cutting emissions, but we can also act by halting and reversing biodiversity loss and restore degraded ecosystems. That is why the European Commission has presented a nature restoration law for the very first time. We are, for example, restoring wetland now. We are removing obstacles for rivers to flow freely. The idea is when we have stark rain that there are plains where the water can go, which is also a reservoir when we have drier times, for example. So we really work on re-establishing that. All these topics, hopefully, will be discussed at the COP27 in Biodiversity Montreal next December, coming December, because they are so important. I am very grateful and very proud that the European Union can join this alliance, because this alliance is focusing not only on the topics I was mentioning, but also on finding nature-based solutions, on finding the right technology and so societal approaches. This is extremely important to prevent further land degradation and to make sure that we preserve land that is suitable not only for food security, but also with fertile soils and a society that is resistant to shocks. Many thanks for that. We are happy to join.
Merci de joindre cette alliance et bien sûr, nous sommes très satisfaits de votre décision. Avec mes excuses, M. Charles Michel, je vais vous donner la parole, président du Conseil européen, et qui va probablement nous donner une autre perception, une perception complémentaire par rapport à ce que nous avons appris jusqu'à présent.
Merci beaucoup. En quelques mots, pour vraiment respecter le timing qui a été décidé, je veux me joindre aux propos de remerciements qui ont été adressés à Pedro Sánchez, à Macky Sall pour leur leadership sur ce sujet. Ils l'avaient montré aussi, on l'avait fait d'ailleurs ensemble à New York il y a quelques semaines, avec la sécurité alimentaire, et on voit bien qu'il y a une vision globale sur l'ensemble des thématiques qui sont portées sur le plan international. Ce matin, le secrétaire général Guterres a eu des mots très forts, des mots très tranchants à la tribune de cette réunion plénière en indiquant ceci: le choix qui s'offre à nous, c'est le choix d'impact. Mais s'agit-il d'impact pour le suicide ou s'agit-il d'impact pour la solidarité? Et cette alliance qui est proposée et portée aujourd'hui par le Sénégal et par l'Espagne, c'est le choix de la solidarité, c'est le choix de la coopération, c'est le choix de la lucidité aussi. La lucidité face aux conséquences très directes, la sécheresse, l'accès à l'eau et les conséquences, transformation et impact en termes de réalité agricole, en termes de réalité sociale, en termes de sécurité alimentaire et probablement en termes de davantage de risques pour des conflits. On n'a pas besoin de conflits supplémentaires, on sait que davantage de désertification, plus de sécheresse, plus de difficultés pour l'eau, c'est davantage de conflits, c'est davantage de tensions au sein de nos sociétés. Et donc, sans réserve, nous soutenons cet engagement. Là où il y a de la volonté, il y a un chemin, dit le dicton. L'Union européenne est par essence, par son histoire, par son ADN, un projet de paix, de sécurité, de stabilité et un peu de solidarité. Nous savons bien que quand nos voisins se portent bien, on se porte bien également. Nous savons bien aussi, cela a été dit par Pedro Sánchez et par Ursula, que l'Union européenne est aussi concernée par ces phénomènes de météo extrême, avec, on le voit bien ces dernières années, des impacts sur beaucoup de nos pays sur le plan européen. Et donc, résolument, nous sommes aux côtés du Sénégal, aux côtés de l'Espagne pour soutenir avec force, avec expertise, avec des moyens financiers, cette ambition commune.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président du Conseil européen. Preuve que l'Europe est fortement engagée dans cette initiative. Nous avons le Premier ministre du Portugal qui nous a fait l'honneur d'être présent aussi et qui va prendre la parole.
Bien, merci, Monsieur le Président Macky Sall. querido Pedro, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by thanking President Macky Sall and President Pedro Sánchez for bringing us together under this initiative. As Prime Minister of a country that has known this year one of the worst droughts ever, I would like to congratulate you for launching this alliance and to express our support for and willingness to contribute to turn into a valuable platform. We can no longer afford to look at drought and water scarcity as a phenomenon associated to extreme weather events. Working together in the framework of this alliance, we can help each other to become more resilient. Our priority should be to avoid the waste of clean water. Each of one in our daily lives can contribute with small gestures to achieve significant water savings. But we also need to act collectively to adapt our agriculture policy to have a more efficient use of water and to ensure fair trade between all. In developed countries, we need to invest in our water distribution infrastructures to reduce water loss. In less developed countries, we need to install efficient water distribution systems to achieve SDG 6 and guarantee that everybody has access to clean water. It is also imperative that we take care of existing water reserves. It is with renewed hope that we listen to President-elect of Brazil, Lula da Silva, to renew his commitment to zero deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. It is also urgent that we abandon practices that affect the quality of groundwater and its pollution by fertilizers and other chemicals. We also need to invest in water treatment and reuse and in our ability to desalinate seawater. I'm confident that the exchange of experience in the framework of this alliance will allow us to find new solutions for the challenges we are facing. We must anticipate the inevitable drought will occur and take an approach that minimizes the effects when it inevitably happens. It is also meaningful that we launch this initiative here at COP27, placing it in the international agenda. And it is also a path we need to keep pursuing, bringing the message about the urgency of international cooperation in the field of water scarcity and drought to the upcoming of United Nations Water 2023 conference. In the world where 40% of the world's population is affected by water scarcity, where 80% of wastewater is still discharged into the environment, and more than 90% of the disasters are water-related, as the Secretary General of the United Nations reminds us, it is urgent to strengthen water governance. Portugal is very pleased to join this initiative, and we look forward to further discuss ways of catalyzing inclusive cooperation to address water as a key to climate change adaptation. We stand committed with a proactive approach to deal with water scarcity and drought. Portugal is ready to be a committed partner. You may count on us. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Pedro.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We now have the honor of having the President of the Republic Islamic of Mauritania, my president, I have to disclose that for everybody to understand. Monsieur le Président de la République islamique de Mauritanie, Mohamed el-Sheikh al-Ghazouani.
Merci beaucoup. Excellence, Monsieur Macky Sall, président en exercice de l'Union africaine, président de la République du Sénégal. Excellence, Monsieur Pedro Sánchez, président du gouvernement espagnol. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je voudrais tout d'abord saluer le leadership de mes amis. Son Excellence, Monsieur Macky Sall, président en exercice de l'Union africaine, président de la République du Sénégal, et Son Excellence, Monsieur Pedro Sánchez, président du gouvernement espagnol, et les remercier vivement pour le lancement de l'heureuse et salutaire initiative de l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse. Je voudrais également leur signifier mon ferme engagement à leur côté pour la promotion et le développement de cette plateforme collaborative qui cherche à catalyser l'élan politique et les actions visant à réduire la vulnérabilité des pays et des communautés aux impacts de la sécheresse. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Mauritanie, pays désertique dans sa partie nord et sahélien dans sa partie sud, est fortement affectée par la sécheresse qui touche environ 80% de son territoire et dont elle subit de plein fouet les incidences négatives et multiformes, comme la réduction de la productivité des sols et des ressources hydriques, l'insécurité alimentaire et l'exode rural. Ces incidences sont d'ailleurs souvent amplifiées par les inondations et autres phénomènes de météorologie extrême dus au changement climatique. Face à cette situation, nous nous sommes résolument engagés, d'une part, à lutter contre la désertification à travers le comité inter-État de la lutte contre la sécheresse au Sahel, le SILS, la Grande Muraille verte et d'autres initiatives, et d'autre part à renforcer la résilience de nos populations en améliorant l'inclusivité de nos schémas de développement, en reconsidérant les modes de production de notre secteur rural et en apportant un appui substantiel aux populations vulnérables. Partant, nous sommes convaincus que l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse constitue un cadre adéquat pour promouvoir un changement de paradigme dans la gestion de la sécheresse en privilégiant la proactivité, en facilitant le transfert des compétences et la mobilisation des ressources. Aussi, j'exhorte tous les pays à se joindre à nous au sein de cette alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse à laquelle je souhaite plein succès et réussite. Je vous remercie.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Now, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency, the President of Somalia, President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed. You have the floor, sir.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to be with you today here in Sharm el-Sheikh to participate in the launch of the International Drought Resilience Alliance. My country, like all yours, is affected by drought. The experience on drought is a daily reality. We are working tirelessly to transition from over 2 decades of devastating conflict, famine, and developmental stagnation to a new age of stability and progress. However, despite our continuing effort, Somalia and its resilient people are facing some of the most complex and interconnected crises in the world. These crises include the ongoing regional droughts, which is directly threatening the lives and the livelihoods of Somalia's most vulnerable communities. As you are all aware, the devastating drought in the Horn of Africa over the past 2 years has left more than 20 million people in urgent need of humanitarian aid, 8 million of those are in my country, Somalia. Somalia is caught between floods and droughts annually owing to climate change and poor infrastructure. Our people who have a long tradition of living harmoniously with nature and parallelly contributing to the poisonous emissions warming the earth are the ones paying with their lives. Somalia is about to enter fifth failed rainy season. We are in the midst of the worst drought in more than 40 years. Half of our population is at risk of famine, and millions of Somali people have fled their homes in search of food and medical care. This is a direct result of climate change exacerbated by the conflict both domestically and abroad. Somalia is experiencing its worst drought in 40 years. We have reached a tipping point. We are trying hard to prevent droughts to morph into a famine in a number of cities and in my country. As the people are abandoning their homes and abandoning their homes and their livestock to search for better conditions, I'm worried that we could see record level of displacement in the coming year of 2023. Let us join forces to mitigate the effects on people, on nature, and on the economy. In the long term, we must collectively work together to ensure that we mitigate the acceleration of the dangerous and costly climate crisis through meeting the commitment to invest in and adequately finance climate adaptation in most affected and vulnerable regions, including most of sub-Saharan Africa. We do not have to wait until the disruption turns into a disaster, because before we respond. Emergency measures are more costly to deploy. Working together, we can ensure that the people of drought-hit countries like mine have the chance of a better life. I believe it's urgent that we roll out viable livelihood strategies, initiate new economic activities through technology development, and build local skills and capacities to cope with the challenge. Late last month, my country embarked on a revolutionary initiative to regreen our land and to fight desertification. The Green Somalia initiative is gaining momentum by the days, and we will strive to make sure to seek all the resources we can garner to make it a success that can be replicated repeatedly in many other regions. I trust the Alliance will reinforce the various momentum, such as Green Somalia initiative, that have been building across the board to mitigate desertification, land degradation, and drought. I look forward to working with the governments of Senegal and Spain and all other countries and organizations supporting the Alliance to facilitate effective implementation of the Alliance in the ground. Somalia is going to be an active member of fighting the climate change and in particular the desertification and degradation of the soil. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And we are all aware of the dire situation that we have in the Horn of Africa right now, and we continue to call on the international community to provide support and assistance to the people that are most affected by this. I mean, you read the articles coming from that region, you heard bleeds, honestly. I do have a long list of people who want to speak. We are constrained by time, so I would really request everybody to be cooperative with me. I don't want to interrupt anybody. My next speaker is the Vice President of the Republic of Angola, Esperanza Eduardo Francisco da Costa, followed by the Executive Director of UNEP, and then I will go back to the two ministers. I will try to alternate. Madame la Vice-Présidente, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, I would like the translator for the following words. Excelências, senhores chefes de Estado e de Governo, distintos convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores.
Excellency, heads of states and governments, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen.
Permitam-me agradecer à Sua Excelência Presidente da República do Senegal, Dr. Macky Sall, pelo convite formulado à Sua Excelência Presidente João Lourenço, Presidente da República de Angola.
Allow me to thank His Excellency Dr. Macky Sall, the President of Senegal, for the invitation done to the President of the Republic of Angola, His Excellency João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço.
Para tomar a palavra neste evento de alto nível sobre a aceleração e adaptação da África organizada pela União Africana e com a participação da União Europeia.
To be here, to be part of this event organized by the African Union with the aim to consider the acceleration of adaptation in Africa.
Este evento, que se realiza no âmbito da COP27, demonstra a preocupação e a visão dos chefes de Estado e de Governo em África sobre a luta no combate às alterações climáticas.
This event, which takes place within the scope of the COP27, demonstrates the concern and the vision of the heads of state and government in Africa about the fight against climate change.
A sua implicação na perda da biodiversidade, no aumento dos oceanos, nas inundações, na seca severa, mas também na segurança alimentar e na deslocação forçada de milhões de pessoas em África.
Its implication in the loss of biodiversity, the sea level rise, floods, severe droughts, but also the food security, displacement of millions of people in Africa, in the pace and balance of our continent.
Urge, sem dúvida, uma reflexão crucial para que juntos possamos dar soluções inovadoras para as nossas economias.
Undoubtedly, a crucial reflection is urgent so that together we can give a specific solution for our economies.
Angola, tal como outros países em África, também foi bastante fustigado pela seca no sul de Angola.
Angola, as other countries in Africa, have been severely affected by drought in the south of Angola,
que afetou já cerca de 1.200.000 pessoas.
It has already affected around 1,002,000 people in Angola.
O governo já disponibilizou cerca de $100 milhões com projetos de transferência de água do rio Cunene.
The government of Angola has already invested around $100 million in the water problem in this area of the south of Angola.
Com a construção de infraestruturas que permitem maior disponibilidade de água potável às populações,
with the construction of infrastructure that provide people potable water for consume.
Água para o desenvolvimento da agropecuária,
water for developing the agriculture,
e também para maior disponibilidade para os animais.
And also for animals creation.
Criando maior capacidade de adaptabilidade das nossas comunidades e maior resiliência às alterações climáticas.
Providing our communities more capacity of adapting and creating resilience.
No âmbito das suas contribuições nacionais determinadas, Angola tem priorizado a preservação da biodiversidade.
taking into account Angola's NDCs, the protection of biodiversity is a priority in this process.
Assim, Angola tem iniciativas transfronteiriças na zona do Mayombe.
Therefore, Angola has transfrontier initiatives in the forest of Mayombe,
mas também na região do Okavango,
but also in the Okavango region,
que é, sem dúvida, a maior área transfronteiriça na nossa região africana,
which is the biggest transfrontier area in our Africa region,
que pode garantir a proteção ambiental e evitar as catástrofes naturais.
which may guarantee environmental protection and avoid natural catastrophes.
Podemos transformar a região do Okavango num importante polo de desenvolvimento de ecoturismo.
We can transform Okavango in a huge pillar of ecotourism,
Pelo que queremos aqui desenvolver parcerias de financiamento de organizações privadas e organizações não governamentais,
so it's our intent to develop partnerships with private organizations and NGOs to develop projects in this area,
que possibilitem o desenvolvimento do emprego para a juventude,
in order to develop jobs for youth people.
não esquecendo o papel determinante das mulheres.
Of course, not forgetting the crucial role of women.
Realçamos que qualquer iniciativa de aceleração e de combate às alterações climáticas
We emphasize that any prospect of accelerating and combating climate change
deve também ter a contribuição da comunidade internacional
should also count with the contribution of international
e
community
dos parceiros na partilha de conhecimento
and every other partner in sharing knowledge
em relação à resiliência e adaptação,
regarding adaptation and resilience
para reverter o atual quadro que é bastante alarmante.
in order to change the actual frame we are facing, which is a
Termino
huge concern.
Termino desejando a todas as partes
I finish wishing all parties here
que continuemos a promover e a implementar iniciativas
to continue to promote and implement initiatives
que permitam transformar a ação climática com justiça climática
that makes possible to transform climate
nos
action
financiamentos
climate
tão
justice.
esperados,
With the financing that we all are awaiting,
que devem priorizar os países menos avançados como a África,
that aims to prioritize developing countries
para que os objetivos que tanto almejamos sejam alcançados
so that the objectives that we have made can be achieved
a bem da preservação da vida no nosso planeta, projeto comum.
for the good of the preservation of our planet as a common project.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. And I'm sorry we did not have simultaneous interpretation in Portuguese, but thank you for your message. Inga Anderson, I am under pressure, and I know you know it. So you have the floor.
I will deliver. I will do this, but let me just say thank you to President Pedro Sánchez, to President Macky Sall, and to your good self, Ibrahim. It's always a pleasure to work with you. And look, we at UNEP, we're based in Nairobi, Kenya. We are proudly based there, but we are living in a drought situation. Thank you, Mr. President, from Somalia. This is the reality. In Kenya alone, 2.5 million cattle have died. People are struggling, and millions throughout the Horn are suffering. And with climate change, it's going to get worse. Others know this as well as I. I'm not going to emphasize this. But what the science says and where we are going right now with the climate promises that we have made, we are heading to 2.8 degrees in 2100. So we need to see much more aggressive and ambitious action, especially by the G20, who are responsible for 75% of all carbon emissions. So This alliance, the International Drought Resilience Alliance, is critical. It is important, and I was asked to come with a few reasons what we can do as the international community. One, support investments in land and land regeneration, promote landscape restoration, and when we do so, we are providing an enhanced microclimate, and that is good for productivity, that is good for communities, and that is good for sustainable development too. Fund and implement early warning systems. That is a goal also of the Secretary General's early warning for all executive action plan, launched just an hour ago. And we at UNEP, we're proud to be engaged with this, as is the rest of the UN system. Back this, fund this. A large percentage of the world does not have early warning system. It is good to have in place. And three, as we said about restoring ecosystems, and I was happy that Mrs. von der Leyen mentioned the imperative of COP15, biodiversity. When we restore nature for agriculture, for productivity, and so on, for communities, we are also restoring our biodiversity. And four, be sure to understand those that come from the global north. Be sure to understand that the future markets are in Africa. Be sure to understand that the youth is in Africa. Be sure to understand that imagination, innovation, creativity is in Africa. And so move in there with your private investments as well, and leave behind important companies that can drive development and growth. Enable investments by the private sector to support land generation and restoration. Enable and understand that youth is wealth, because the future opportunities lie in those areas. That is clearly where we have to go. The Pacific people say that we are all in the same canoe. We are all in the same canoe, this little blue planet, and that planet, we have to take care of it. So thank you for this opportunity. We at UNEP are strongly supporting the alliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inga Anderson. I know you are speaking on behalf of many other UN agencies that are present here. I would like to recognize them, but because I'm not sure I will be able to give them the floor. But I would like to recognize the head of the UN Disaster Risk Reduction, who should speak about drought, if not the head of UN Disaster Risk Reduction. The president of IFAD is here, and thank you for coming. Who should speak about drought, if not the fund that is providing financing to smallholders in the world. The representative of the UNDP is in the room, who should speak about drought, if not the one talking about livelihoods and communities. The deputy head of the UNFCCC is in the room. Thank you for coming, despite the very busy schedule that you have. And I'm sure I'm forgetting many other UN agencies that are in the room here. I have a long list, but I may not be able to give you the floor to all of you. However, I would like to be sure I give the floor to Costa Rica, to Germany, and to Tunisia, if that's okay with you, and we'll close the list with that. I apologize, but I just do not have much more time. So Costa Rica, you have the floor.
Thank you, President, and muchas gracias y felicitaciones al gobierno de España y a Senegal por esta importante alianza para la desertificación. Creemos que hay una realidad que debemos trabajar juntos, y esta propuesta puede acelerar el compromiso hacia la adaptación y acelerar el compromiso hacia los sistemas agroproductivos en sinergia con nuestros ecosistemas. Adaptarnos y la transformación de la producción de alimentos de una manera de buenas prácticas agrícolas y ambientales que garanticen la conservación de los suelos, las aguas y nuestros bosques es muy importante. Costa Rica lo ha hecho, y lo ha hecho con buen éxito, y creemos que es muy importante caminar de la mano de la adaptación y la mitigación. Así es que aplaudimos esta iniciativa de España y Senegal y la vemos como un compromiso hacia una agricultura resiliente y digo yo que adaptada, que tiene que ser también con cuidado para sus ecosistemas, donde hemos avanzado bastante y vemos que hace falta más. Entonces, los felicitamos mucho, señor presidente, señores del gobierno, representantes del gobierno de España y de Senegal por esta iniciativa, y a la alianza la aplaudimos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I have good news for you guys. Actually, we have a little bit more time. So I will reopen the list, but I will still give the floor to Germany and Tunisia as announced, and I'll come back to your list. I see your hand, United States. Thank you.
May I sit here?
Okay.
Sorry for that. Executive Secretary, dear Ibrahim Tiaf, President Sánchez, and in his absence, President Macky Sall. Germany is hosting this secretariat of this wonderful CCD. And colleagues, when this convention was born back in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, everybody in the world, also our African friends, thought that this is an African problem. It is not. Droughts are happening everywhere. We are losing fertile soil everywhere in the world. Desertification is happening everywhere in the world. Of course, the African continent is affected mostly by that. But if we want to address it, we need this kind of alliance. And President, to you and to President Macky Sall, we applaud for this initiative. It is needed. Imagine we cannot make rain happen more often. We have to work on under the CCC to fight for every centigrade less climate change. But we cannot make rain happening more often. But imagine it rains. People in a country are desperately waiting for rain, and then there is no soil to capture the rain, to capture the water. So what I want to say is we need to get the integration. We need to have a holistic approach to fight against climate change, to fight against the loss of biodiversity, to fight for fertile soils, for sustainable water management. That is why this alliance is so much needed, and that is why I'm so happy to announce that Germany joins. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Germany. Tunisia, la Tunisie. Vous avez la parole.
Merci. Monsieur Ibrahim Thiaw, je vous remercie. Je salue l'initiative du Sénégal et de l'Espagne en faveur de la résilience par rapport à la sécheresse. Cette initiative est bien entendu soutenue par la Tunisie qui a une longue tradition de lutte contre la désertification en tant que pays africain et victime donc d'un stress hydrique. L'initiative va dans le sens des politiques publiques menées dans notre pays depuis les années 60 et récemment nous proposons peut-être que la Tunisie puisse être un modèle car nous avons commencé depuis longtemps à utiliser les eaux usées traitées pour le reboisement et cette année, nous commençons à utiliser ces eaux pour le fourrage. Donc, compte tenu des problèmes que nous vivons. Il nous semble que la lutte contre la désertification peut aussi prendre cette forme. Et dans le cadre d'un projet appelé Green Initiative for Africa, Corridor for Africa, le corridor vert pour l'Afrique, la Tunisie pourrait se positionner comme étant un carrefour entre les deux, enfin l'Est et l'Ouest de la Méditerranée, compte tenu de son expérience dans ce domaine de réutilisation des eaux usées en vue du reboisement. Et bien entendu, nous soutenons cette initiative. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Et cette idée de corridor vert est une idée parfaitement intéressante et nous invitons tout le monde à prendre contact avec la délégation tunisienne et aussi la Tunisie, un pays qui a une grande expertise en matière de gestion des zones arides. Nous nous rappelons de l'Institut des zones arides de Medellin qui existe depuis des dizaines d'années. Next on my list is the United States of America, followed by Kenya. I beg your patience. U.S. is Monica Medina, Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans, for Ocean, Environment and Science, and as if she was not sufficiently busy, she is also a special envoy for biodiversity and water.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here among such esteemed company. And thank you, Prime Minister Sanchez, and of course to President Sall for the diplomatic work that you did to get this effort off the ground and bring us all together today. Thank you also to the UNCCD and the whole team who is critical to the success of this alliance. I will not beat around the bush, as they say in our language. I am very pleased to announce that the U.S. is joining the International Drought Resilience Alliance. We know we must change the way the world approaches drought. In the last few months alone, we've seen record-breaking and life-threatening droughts in every part of the globe. We must build resilience into our societies, economies, infrastructure, and food systems to better withstand ever-increasing events. We are very pleased to have the President's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, or PREPARE, as a vehicle by which we in the United States are helping countries to respond. Through PREPARE, we are aiming to help more than 500 million people in developing countries adapt to and manage the impacts of climate change, including drought, by 2030. The launch of this alliance during the leaders segment of the COP demonstrates the political will to refocus policies worldwide. Now we must galvanize the political will into action. You can count on the United States to do just that. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you.
Thank you very much, United States, for your support and your commitment and your joy for joining the alliance. Kenya, thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. I wish to give this statement on behalf of the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. My name is Cecily Mbarire. I'm a governor in Embu County, one of the 47 counties in Kenya. I wish to thank President Pedro Sánchez of Spain and President Macky Sall of Senegal for spearheading the launch of the International Drought Resilience Alliance. Today, I join other world leaders in lending support to this new alliance that seeks to shift drought management from emergency response to resilience against climate change impacts. We do recognize that drought knows no boundaries, and the effect of drought in one country may have negative implications in other neighboring countries. As we gather here today, Kenya is going through a severe drought that has severely impacted on our food security. We have 4 successful failed rain seasons, and there's a grim prospect of the current short rain season being the 5th. In fact, we are witnessing the worst drought in 40 years as a nation. More than 4.5 million of our citizens face acute food insecurity, a situation that has been exacerbated by multiple shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic, desert locust invasions, and the ripple effects of war in Ukraine. As such, rising prices of basic foods and other commodities such as fuel and fertilizer. Nearly 1 million children below 5 years and 135,000 pregnant and breastfeeding mothers require treatment for acute malnutrition. In addition, we've lost more than 2.5 million livestock, numerous wildlife, among other devastating effects. And that is why we take this initiative very, very seriously as a nation. As Kenya lends her support to this new alliance, we also bring along lessons learned from the Horn of Africa. The 2010-2011 drought crisis in the Horn was a critical turning point in drought risk management in the region. Cognizant that effective drought risk management requires substantial financial resources to ensure early action, Kenya has developed a disaster risk financing strategy that is already being implemented. As part of this strategy, the government established a multi-donor national drought emergency fund to ensure availability of funds for drought preparedness and response and recovery. And it's as a result of this, and on recognition that this is hardly enough in the face of climate change, that we are asking the G20 that have contributed to 75% of the challenge that we are facing today to come out and finance drought risk management in Africa and to assist African countries to be able to mitigate against climate change challenges that we are facing. We look forward to working with this alliance and the many more organizations across the world in making sure that we make drought management a part of our life and not an emergency as is happening in the country right now in Africa. Thank you very much. Asante.
Asante sana, Governor Mbarire, and thank you for the message from Kenya. We have to live with drought. It doesn't have to be a disaster. That's exactly the conclusion. Now on my list, I have Honduras, France, and Argentina, and the list continues, but in that order. Honduras.
Thank you. I would speak in my native language, Spanish. Muchas gracias por la palabra. Gracias al presidente Sánchez por la invitación. Un saludo y también a Senegal por la invitación y a la Convención de Desertificación. Un fuerte saludo de la primera presidenta de Honduras, Iris Xiomara Castro, que extiende un fuerte abrazo a todos aquí. Para nosotros es importante participar en estos espacios debido a que, y aquí quiero hacer un poco de énfasis en lo antes mencionado, la problemática de la desertificación y de la sequía no solo es en ciertas zonas, sino que es en todo el mundo. Y en todo el mundo, estamos hablando de Honduras y en la región Centroamérica también, es altamente afectado por temas de sequía y desertificación. Nosotros hay un corredor seco en toda la región que se está trabajando en todo Centroamérica y aquí también con los hermanos y hermanas de República Dominicana. Estamos trabajando cómo avanzar en ese corredor seco, porque tenemos que trabajar bastante en la recuperación de suelos. Aquí hemos tenido grandes pérdidas de suelos que están afectando bastante a la soberanía y la seguridad alimentaria. Eso quiere decir que está afectando a estos medios de vida y que por no tener esa claridad de los medios de vida estamos generando mayor pobreza y también mayor migración. Y eso es una de las grandes pérdidas que nosotros también estamos teniendo, esta gente que está emigrando de sus tierras natales. Y por eso hay que trabajar y hay que apoyar todos estos temas de restauración y de recuperación de suelo para poder asegurar el agro en nuestros países, para poder asegurar esa productividad y que la gente de verdad pueda tener una mejor calidad de vida y un bienestar. Honduras le está apostando fuertemente al tema ambiental. Es la primera vez en todos estos años que se ha generado un gabinete ambiental a donde podemos tener coherencia con las diferentes políticas públicas, a donde podemos recuperar estos ecosistemas para poder asegurar también esa productividad, para poder mejorar esa calidad de vida. Solo así, y nosotros tenemos esa claridad desde el gobierno de Honduras, que solo así, y sabemos que también hablamos por la región, solo así podemos asegurar un desarrollo real. Tenemos que cambiar también ese modelo a donde todo se está llevando a hacer un fuerte impacto y no estamos viendo hacia esas cuencas hidrográficas y esos ecosistemas que nos aseguran ese bienestar. Agradecemos esa invitación. Honduras también se unirá a la Alianza por la Resiliencia y para nosotros trabajar en esa resiliencia y en esa capacidad adaptativa es seguir avanzando por la justicia climática. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for your statement, and thank you for joining the alliance. Next is France, followed by Argentina and the UN disaster risk reduction, in that order.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État, de gouvernement, ministres, je serai bref, beaucoup de choses ont été dites, mais on est ici à une croisée de chemin entre beaucoup d'enjeux. Et je voudrais, au nom d'Emmanuel Macron, dire combien la France remercie Pedro Sánchez et Macky Sall pour cette initiative et combien nous serons à leur côté dans le cadre de cette alliance qui va nous permettre partout dans le monde de partager des solutions. Le stress hydrique, on le sait, est d'une acuité particulière en Afrique. L'Europe commence à être touchée, elle est de plus en plus. Notre pays a connu un été particulier. Nous avons encore, à la minute où je vous parle, des situations de sécheresse dans certaines zones de la France. Face à ça, notre capacité à préserver nos espaces naturels, à lutter contre la désertification, à nous adapter au changement climatique sont évidemment questionnés. Et au-delà de l'initiative que nous soutenons, je nous appelle tous et toutes le mois prochain à Montréal, à l'occasion de la COP15, à être aussi particulièrement offensif parce que le sujet c'est la préservation des zones humides, c'est la lutte contre des étalements urbains qui nous privent de nappes phréatiques, qui nous permettent ensuite d'avoir des solutions qui soient fondées sur la nature, et c'est plus largement la question de la préservation de nos espaces naturels pour que dans notre lutte contre le réchauffement climatique, on n'oublie pas la biodiversité qui ne doit pas être l'angle mort de nos politiques. Un grand merci et bravo aux porteurs de cette initiative.
Merci beaucoup. Merci aussi à la France pour les actions d'appui à la lutte contre la sécheresse dans le monde. Argentina, you have the floor, followed by the UN Disaster Risk Reduction and Côte d'Ivoire.
Muchas gracias por la palabra, muchas gracias por invitarnos a participar de este evento. Quiero dejarle al presidente de Senegal y a Pedro Sánchez un saludo muy especial de nuestro presidente Alberto Fernández. Lo considera un amigo de nuestro país. Celebramos, antes que nada, la iniciativa de ambos países de poner a la sequía, al tema de la sequía en el tope de la agenda política. Como menciona el documento fundacional, no hay países que sean inmunes a estos fenómenos. A algunos los impacta más, a otros los impacta menos, pero ningún país puede permanecer sin afectación por efectos de sequía o inundación. Como todos sabemos, el sector agrícola es uno de los más afectados. Es un negocio a cielo abierto que depende directamente del régimen de lluvias y se ocasionan innumerables pérdidas por los problemas de sequía y también por la inundación. Y esto agrava desde ya la situación alarmante que tenemos en materia de inseguridad alimentaria. Argentina es un claro exponente de esta situación. A pesar de tener volúmenes récord de exportación y de producción, estamos cursando el tercer año de sequía de un fenómeno de la Niña, fenómeno meteorológico que restringe el régimen de lluvia y ya nuestros suelos están siendo afectados por esa faltante de humedad. Esa faltante de humedad se refleja obviamente en los rendimientos y eso hace que tengamos no solo menores valores en términos de divisa, sino por sobre todas las cosas menores volúmenes de producción que afectan obviamente a la seguridad alimentaria. Debo destacar en conjunto que nuestro país tiene tecnología de avanzada en producción. Hemos desarrollado un trigo, el HB4 denominado, que es resistente a sequía y que sostiene medianamente los rindes aún con periodos de estrés de sequía, pero es resistente a una menor humedad, no es resistente totalmente a sequía. Esto hace a la adaptación que tienen nuestros cultivos a estos fenómenos. Somos pioneros en materia de siembra directa, a donde se siembra sin remover la cobertura del suelo, preservando valores ambientales y favoreciendo la retención del agua y también favoreciendo la rotación de cultivos, y esto hace a la cobertura del suelo, que también es una muy buena práctica en términos de sostenibilidad ambiental. Aún así, estimamos, está conmigo la secretaria de Cambio Climático y trabajamos en conjunto, y esto habla de la importancia que le da nuestro país a la agenda climática. Por eso me acompaña Cecilia Nicolini. Y según los cálculos que hemos hecho en conjunto entre las dos secretarías, tanto de Agricultura como de Cambio Climático, nuestro país en los últimos 20 años tuvo una pérdida por sequía de 24.000 millones de dólares y en estos últimos 3 años de 280 millones de dólares. Un problema con doble consecuencia, tanto en divisas, que es tan necesario para nuestro país, como en seguridad alimentaria para el mundo. Por eso entendemos y estamos convencidos que la inversión en infraestructura, los instrumentos para derivar el riesgo financiero y la biotecnología son las principales herramientas para abordar estos temas. Esperamos que la comunidad internacional enfoque sus esfuerzos financieros y contribuya a los esfuerzos que ya nuestro país está llevando adelante con financiamiento propio. Caída de producción de países como los nuestros son sinónimo de restricción alimentaria de la oferta de alimentos para el mundo y es menor alimento y menor calidad de dieta para nuestros ciudadanos. Muchas gracias.
Mami, thank you for your patience. You have the floor now, followed by Côte d'Ivoire and Slovenia.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I'd first like to commend the government of Spain under the leadership of the Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez and the government of Senegal under the leadership of Presidente Macky Sall, because this is such an alliance that needed to happen maybe earlier, but it is happening now. We have always paid more attention to sudden onset disasters. And of course, sudden onset disasters made the news a lot because they would kill instantly. Tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes. But the silent killer, drought, which we said is too complex to understand, is now affecting the whole world. The diversity of countries around this table and the diversity of the UN system agencies around this table, I think, tells it all. We have 3 offers that we would like to take forward with Ibrahim and the UN agencies. 1, we need to understand better what are the drivers of risk of drought. And this is not only about understanding the hazard itself, but also which sectors are the most vulnerable, which people are the most vulnerable, and we need to act before the hazard becomes a disaster. The second thing is that we need to support countries so that they can translate this understanding of drought disaster risk to their policies, to their strategies, and we need to have a holistic approach which starts from before the drought, during the drought, and after the drought. And we need to have all stakeholders engaged. And third and lastly, Inga mentioned about the early warning system for all initiative, which was just launched by the UN Secretary General. WMO and my agency, UNDRA, will take the lead in this. It has to be a multi-hazard early warning system, which means that it has to include drought, because drought is, again, the silent killer affecting all countries. So we will work towards it, and thank you very much for launching this alliance.
Thank you. Côte d'Ivoire, followed by Slovenia and Slovakia.
Merci, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif. Je prends la parole au nom du vice-président Tchemoko Kone de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, qui a dû aller dans une autre salle pour faire une déclaration. Excellence Monsieur Macky Sall, président de la République du Sénégal, Excellence Monsieur Pedro Sánchez, président du gouvernement du Royaume d'Espagne, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents, distingués délégués, Mesdames et Messieurs. C'est un grand honneur pour mon pays, la Côte d'Ivoire, de prendre part au lancement de l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse. Au nom de son Excellence, M. Alassane Ouattara, président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, je voudrais exprimer mes chaleureuses félicitations et ma profonde gratitude au président Macky Sall et au président Pedro Sánchez pour la mise en place de cette heureuse initiative conjointe. En effet, la lutte contre la sécheresse est un défi commun partagé par toutes les nations. Elle nécessite un engagement solidaire de tous les pays en vue d'apporter des solutions adaptées à cette menace mondiale. La Côte d'Ivoire est impliquée dans cette lutte, notamment à travers son plan national contre la sécheresse. En outre, notre pays préside depuis le mois de mai 2022 la 15e conférence des parties à la Convention des Nations Unies sur la lutte contre la désertification et la sécheresse, la COP15, démontrant ainsi son engagement international. C'est dans le même sens que la Côte d'Ivoire soutient entièrement la création de l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse et est très honoré de rejoindre cette initiative en qualité de membre fondateur. C'est une opportunité pour mon pays de partager à travers cette plateforme ses expériences réussies, notamment le programme Héritage d'Abidjan, adopté lors de la COP15. Je voudrais terminer mon propos en souhaitant plein succès à cette alliance. Je vous remercie.
What he did not say is that he is the president of UNCCD COP15. Mr. Donwahi, avec mes applaudissements. Slovenia, followed by Slovakia and Observatoire du Sahara et du Sahel.
Thank you very much, dear Excellencies, dear guests. It's my pleasure to represent Slovenia at this launch event and to be able to express our sincere gratitude to the governments of Spain and Senegal for developing this important initiative in such a timely manner. As previous speakers have already stressed, the effects of climate change are evident and extreme events are becoming more frequent and intense, causing natural and economic losses all over the globe. In Europe this year, we experienced one of the hottest summers ever recorded, and Slovenia was one of the countries that has been particularly hard hit by large-scale wild forest fires and water scarcity. And this has strengthened our conviction that international collaboration in the field of drought management must be enhanced. We should strive towards a holistic approach addressing the full drought management cycle from planning to implementation. And this is why we are especially glad to join and support this alliance, which aims to go beyond the disaster response and focus on reducing vulnerability to the impacts of drought by mainstreaming preparedness and adaptation measures. One aspect that we would like to highlight is the importance of promoting regional approaches. Slovenia already has examples of good practices. We are hosting a drought management center for Southeast Europe, whose main mission is to develop and apply risk management tools and policies to improve drought preparedness of 13 participating countries of the region. And let me assure you that Slovenia will be an active participant in the field of drought management and will strongly support the follow-up activities of this alliance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Slovakia, followed by Observatoire du Sahara et du Sahel and OCHA, in that order. Slovakia.
Thank you very much, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to start by expressing the great appreciation to Spain and Senegal for launching this initiative, very timely, tackling or addressing the challenge that we all face. Let me make 3 remarks. First is on state of play. Fact is that drought frequency and severity are increasing in many parts of the world due to the climate change. By estimation, 55 million people globally are directly affected by droughts every year. More than 2.3 billion people around the world are currently facing water stress, while severe drought affects Africa more than any other continent. Tens of millions of people are in jeopardy in Horn of Africa, facing an uncertain future. No country is immune. Droughts affect all of us. My second point is related to my country, Slovakia. The fundamental concern for our country is the water resources and water availability. As to many other societies worldwide, we need to change our relationship with landscape and treat it as a limited and precious natural capital to prevent its degradation. Tackling drought requires complex, comprehensive, and multidimensional approach with coherence of policies and building partnerships at all levels. Slovakia, like many other countries around the world, has experienced an increased frequency and extreme weather events in recent years, including record heat waves, floods and droughts. We have learned that it is urgent to shift from a reactive to proactive track. Therefore, the Slovak government has adopted several strategies to address this challenge. And these strategies and action plans contain preventive measures in a number of areas, especially agriculture and forestry, urban landscape, water management, research and environmental education. My third point is that yes, Slovakia joins this initiative. Once again, congratulations, and we really sincerely hope that with strong political momentum, this International Drought Resilience Alliance is that kind of platform what we all need, and we very much hope that it will contribute to the global coordinated and effective response. I thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Secrétaire exécutif. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, l'année qui s'écoule avec son lot de faits alarmants nous met tous face au terrible record d'une planète en proie à une sécheresse historique, inédite et menaçante. Nous nous trouvons désormais devant cette vérité que nous ne pouvons nous permettre d'ignorer. Face à la sécheresse, à ses effets dévastateurs, au drame humain qu'elle provoque, plus personne n'est à l'abri. La sécheresse porte en elle une cascade de catastrophes qui touchent de près à la sécurité, à l'alimentation et à la santé des populations et de leurs habitats. Malheureusement, les effets de ces catastrophes sur les régions affectées ne sont portés à la connaissance de la communauté internationale que lorsqu'ils sont à leur apogée et qu'il est souvent trop tard pour agir. La sécheresse tend à transformer de larges territoires et à les rendre inhospitaliers, accentuant la précarité des populations les plus vulnérables et exacerbant les flux migratoires. L'expansion géographique de ces phénomènes amène des prises de conscience de plus en plus lucides. Notre rencontre d'aujourd'hui et l'engagement commun et solidaire que nous y prenons en sont la preuve. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, à l'Observatoire du Sahara et du Sahel, depuis 30 ans, la lutte contre les effets de la sécheresse se trouve au cœur de notre mandat. Nous œuvrons chaque jour à relever des défis de plus en plus pressants en mettant notre savoir-faire, notre expérience, nos leçons apprises et les connaissances que nous générons au service du continent africain et bien au-delà, partout où notre expérience est utile. Notre intervention met les populations au cœur de nos préoccupations et des objectifs de nos initiatives, notamment à travers l'analyse des vulnérabilités, la mise en place de systèmes d'alerte précoce et d'actions d'adaptation pour le renforcement de la résilience. Les réseaux que nous développons et les partenariats que nous construisons et consolidons nous permettent d'agir comme plateforme d'échange et de partage pour contribuer aux efforts globaux de mobilisation des ressources et d'expertise. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, à l'Observatoire du Sahara et du Sahel, nous sommes déterminés à poursuivre nos efforts auprès de la communauté internationale et nous nous engageons à jouer pleinement notre rôle dans l'Alliance internationale pour la résilience à la sécheresse. Ce n'est qu'ensemble que nous y arriverons. Merci de votre attention.
Merci à vous. Next is the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs of the United Nations, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Head of OCHA, Martin Griffiths. Thank you for coming, and you have the floor.
Thanks very much indeed. Thank you, President Macky Sall. Thank you, Prime Minister Sánchez. And it's a privilege to be here. As the Emergency Relief Coordinator, I have the privilege of representing the humanitarian community globally, but also the awful privilege, as a result of that, of witnessing firsthand some of the worst devastation wrought by climate and drought. And we know from Spain's experience, as we have heard, it's not just in Africa and Asia, it's also in Europe and elsewhere. I won't brief you on the facts and figures and why we need to care about the drought situation that we have already heard so much about. You know all this. I want to make a couple of very simple points here. I'm going to take the Horn of Africa as my example. I was recently in Somalia, which is right now, as we speak, as you know, and we heard from President Sheikh, going through an unprecedented fifth failure of a rainy season with all the likelihood that a sixth will fail again in the early months of next year. This is the worst situation that the Horn has seen for 40 years. And the consequence is people dying, those children that we've all visited in hospital, the ones that are quiet because they don't have the strength to cry, and who die on our watch and are doing so already. There is a debate as to whether there is famine or not in Somalia. It will go on, but it doesn't stop the people dying now. And we know from the situation in 2010 and 2011 in Somalia, half of those died before the declaration of famine, 250,000 people. So people are dying. But beyond that, and this is really my point, speaking as a humanitarian agent, beyond that is the existential threat to a way of life. It's no surprise that Somalia has the highest rate of urbanization in the world. Why is that? Because the people sensibly have been voting with their feet to go to towns to seek different livelihoods because they've lost livestock too many times already. 3 million animals have died in Somalia alone, within the Horn, on this occasion. And people aren't foolish enough to want to put scarce money, scarce savings into another go, with every chance of the next rainy season failing. So they seek alternative livelihoods. In a community in Turkana, where the women, there were only women left there, had to go, and there were no livestock, had to go 7 kilometers to a river to get water. They used the reeds in the river to make brushes. Not exactly a great commercial proposition. They made them because it was the only thing they could think of to sell for income. And the only food that really existed in that community, this was back in March, was school meals. They had a primary school which, extraordinarily, to the huge credit of Kenya, was still providing school meals. And so they made damn sure that their children went to school so that they could be fed. It's the failure of our system to invest in resilience in those societies, which is, I think, and the Secretary General of the United Nations has said so clearly and so often, is a failure of justice. I don't know, and I'm in this business, I don't know how much really of any climate money has gone into Somalia to pay for the resilience and alternatives of people who have not contributed to the climate problem, which has been caused largely by the behavior of people like me, but are certainly the first victims of it. And the fact that I don't even know whether there is that money going to these countries is in itself a shame. There's a lack of opacity, there's a lack of clarity, lack of transparency, a lack of accountability that I hope and I'm sure that this COP will redeem, so that the people that we all need to serve, the people whose funding of a future that we all need to make sure of, and are properly informed about the options that face them. There is only one thing worse than not having humanitarian assistance. That's not needing humanitarian assistance. We need to make sure that the people of the Horn and elsewhere facing these terrible droughts see the back of people like me, but see a future for their children. Thank you very much, sir.
I don't know what to say after you spoke. I remember reading this article. I think it was BBC, who reported the case of Fatima, a Somali woman who had 3 children. One of them died. The other 2 are still alive. And she said, I don't have sufficient force and energy to bury my dead child because I want to save that energy to save the other 2. That's how bad it is when a woman cannot even bury their child. So on that day, honestly, I did not sleep because I started wondering, where is my humanity? Why are we failing the world? And while the world is failing to these people, to the point that in 2022, we are having a situation. I went through the same situation in 1972 in the Sahel. And now it is repeating itself. There is something wrong in our system, completely. I still have 4 speakers on my list. I don't know if you have the courage of staying in the room. Certainly what you said, Martin, gives me a little bit more energy to stay a little bit further, despite depressing news, but actually we have to do something about it. We should not resign. So I have the Adaptation Fund, the Green Climate Fund, the Dominican Republic, and I want to close the list with Hindu Umaru. I keep pushing her down because I want her to speak the last. Adaptation Fund, please.
Thank you. President Sanchez, President Sall, Executive Secretary Theo, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank UNCCD as well as the leadership of Spain and Senegal for coming together to launch this important initiative. The International Drought Resilience Alliance recognizes the urgent and rising need to accelerate building resilience to drought at all levels. First, I'd like to say that we've been fortunate to work with UNCCD and both Spain and Senegal over the years and deeply appreciate these continuing partnerships. Spain is an important contributor to the Adaptation Fund, including last year, of which we are deeply grateful. As we see the urgency to adapt to climate change continue to balloon and the impacts getting stronger each year, the timing of this initiative is as important as ever. About half of our approximate $1 billion portfolio supports directly or indirectly land degradation-related activities across agriculture, water management, food security, and ecosystem-based adaptation. We are also one of the few funds equipped to address regional adaptation issues through our funding window for regional projects, which has grown markedly. We have full confidence that the Alliance will help further our collective efforts to build drought resilience at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And here, the Adaptation Fund has a very important role to play. Thank you for coming. The Green Climate Fund.
Thank you very much. And after listening to the words in regards from the humanitarian angle, I was somehow left speechless, and actually decided not to read my speech and speak from the heart, if I may. Because I think what you just explained is exemplified here with this convening of Spain and Senegal, of bringing political will and making things happen. And I believe that a lot of times that is what we lack. We require ambition. The Green Climate Fund is currently ending its current programming, and we're launching a second replenishment, but we need more than the 10 billion that we were given in the first round. And we need it in order to make sure that those aspects that have existed, because droughts have existed forever, but the climate-induced effects on droughts are now having effects that we've never seen before. So I believe that this example that has been already done here, if we bring it with technology, progress, as Argentina mentioned, if we bring it also with that angle on making adaptation feasible, but trying to bring private sector to flow capital, this is possible. So the Green Climate Fund welcomes the International Drought Resilience Alliance, and we look forward to partnering and contributing to projects that you will be working with. We have been working with the Green Wall Initiative. We've made 30 projects worth 1.1 billion, and while that might sound as a good amount, it's not enough. So I think the ambition has to be kept up, and I really congratulate Spain and Presidente Sanchez for the leadership, along with Macky Sall and also UNCCD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In fact, we need 10 times more than the previous pledge in the Green Climate Fund. That's what we committed ourselves to in 2019, isn't it? Let's remind ourselves. Next is the Dominican Republic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to switch to my native language, Spanish. En nombre de la República Dominicana y de nuestro presidente, el señor Luis Abinader, agradecer a los gobiernos de España y de Senegal por la invitación y felicitar la iniciativa tan relevante para todos nuestros países. La República Dominicana es un pequeño estado insular en desarrollo con ecosistemas muy frágiles. Tenemos 1.500 kilómetros de playas que todos o muchos conocen, principalmente Punta Cana, pero tenemos 18.000 kilómetros de bosques que pocos conocen, tanto bosque tropical como bosque seco. La degradación de nuestros suelos en todas las regiones del país es cada vez más agresiva y el bienestar de nuestra gente está comprometido por los eventos climáticos extremos, fuegos forestales y fallos en nuestros sistemas productivos. El cambio climático es el gran responsable, pero también lo es cómo manejamos nuestra tierra. Como pequeño estado insular, la seguridad alimentaria es nuestra mayor prioridad. Y como el principal exportador de cacao orgánico en el mundo, junto con otros productos agrícolas, la sequía amenaza nuestro sustento. La República Dominicana, como Secretaría Pro Tempore de la Secretaría Iberoamericana y Presidencia Pro Tempore del SICA, ha incluido dentro de sus prioridades la atención a esta problemática que es común a todos nuestros países. Le agradecemos la invitación y nueva vez felicitamos a esta Alianza Internacional de Resiliencia a la Sequía, que es muy oportuna, y queremos expresar nuestro apoyo a la iniciativa y cuenten con la República Dominicana. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I think the speed of the speech was so quick that we could not follow the translation. Thank you very much for your words. Now, Hindu Umaru. If you don't know Hindu Umaru, you are in trouble.
Today we are celebrating. We're celebrating the alliance with a nice speeches that should give us hope. But let me tell you, hope without action cannot end the drought. Nice speeches we hear for too long. In the region when I come from, the Sahel, and many other regions, tears are the only rain. Tears because our soil died. Tears because mothers are worried of the future of their children. Tears because women, wives, are worried that the husband leave to the next city and end up in a boat. Tears because when soil is not there, their own tears cannot grow up in crops. I'm not talking about the reports, I'm not talking about the photos and videos that passing for 1 second and people getting pity and leave up. I'm talking about the real life and daily life of the communities, women and men, that die, as he said. In our culture, we say, if a camel dies, humans are following, and camels are dying, because camel can drink only once every 3 months. So that is where we are now. Are you ready in this alliance to commit? Not only make a speech and leave the room as a checking box. I did how many speeches at the COP. Not that the head of delegation planned a meeting with the peoples to make the nice TVs. But how are we going to commit to the communities who do not care about the word that you are saying COP, but who are living the drought every day? So that's what we want you to commit with me. I'm so happy that Prime Minister, you are there. I hope that you and your co-founder from Senegal, you can take that, have male countries from south and north to join the alliance, to come in a real cash in the tables that can go to the communities to end the droughts, to come in on a right-based approach, to avoid the false solutions and maladaptations. We know that where money is there, many companies, groups can come, and they can end up with the solution be again, grab the land of the communities, or make more human rights violations than the solutions. So the alliance must serve peoples, not serve the purpose of the leaders. We are there. We are watching you. We give you the rendezvous in the next COP to come back, tell us how much the alliance put in the tables, how much went to the communities, how much real action end up the drought. I hope I will be back with you, or other representatives will be there. It's not about holding accountable. It is about responsibility of all of us. You said developing countries, we are in the one canoe. So let us see if we are driving the one canoe in the one side, or we are fighting again. There are money, we know all of us, money is there. I'm not going to say where it's going, because we know it. Got from the debt release to all the dirty things.
Now you understand why she spoke the last. And now you know who is Hindu Umaru. Hindu, thank you for your passion and thank you for your words, because we need to see action on the ground. Now, this alliance is supported by these two co-chairs, or these two countries that have taken the leadership. Many other countries have joined, and you see the maps here, the flags on the screen, and many more will join, and many other UN agencies are also joining. The idea here of the alliance is to raise awareness at the political level. Droughts have always been dealt with either by the humanitarian community, and I keep saying that the humanitarian community is getting better and better in responding, and Martin, it is real, because I have seen it for years. But droughts are either dealt with by the humanitarian community as a response, or by experts who could go to meetings and publish documents, and it stays there. It has not reached yet the high table of officials, like a prime minister or a head of state, to take it, to desectorialize it, because droughts is sectorialized at the moment. Either Minister of Water, either ministry, it is cross-cutting, and we have not been able to provide a holistic response to the issue. So this alliance is meant to also raise the awareness and bring everybody around the table. So as you see, there are many countries and many agencies, and to make it work, we would propose that maybe Senegal and Spain will write to all of you. We would propose that a small group of representatives of countries and organizations come together to actually work it out, to work out the details. Otherwise, at the next conference of the parties, we will be in trouble with Hindu. I think the moment has come, seeing how much drought is happening in the world today, seeing how many regions and how many countries are affected by droughts. I live in Germany. I've never seen the Rhine River so low. I've never seen the country so dry. It's yellow. It was orange instead of being green. And people, farmers, are still wondering, we are now in fall, they're still wondering whether they would harvest. In Europe, of course, you don't have the same disaster as in Somalia, because Europe has more capacity and they can subsidize their communities. But for how long? An economy is going down. Any year of drought, in most developing countries I have been working with, any year of drought has been a year of economic downturn, because the primary sector is the main source of income. Agriculture, livestock, fisheries, and so forth. When there is drought, the primary sector cannot produce anymore, the economy is down. So I think we can address it. I think we can do better. I think there will be more droughts, as you heard this morning in the speeches. Droughts have been there since the pharaohs in Egypt. 3,000 years ago, it is documented. It's not new, but they were not as severe as they are today, because climate change is inducing more change and frequency and intensity. So we can do something about it. We should develop early warning systems. We should prepare ourselves, and we should actually go to the private sector, to the insurance companies and so forth, and involve them. So all of this can only happen if we continue to work together. As Hindu said, and I think it was Inga, who said we are all in the same canoe. This reminds me of a saying from Martin Luther King, who was speaking to a community, a black community, saying, we may all come from different ships, but we are now in the same boat. We are all in the same boat, rich and poor, international organizations and countries. We should do something about drought, and we as the UNCCD, the convention under which droughts are being negotiated, we are happy to serve as a platform to bring everybody around the table and to address this, because there is no north-south here. There is no divide. It is not controversial. We have to deal with it, and we can deal with it in a satisfactory way. So I wish to thank you very much, Prime Minister. Thank you very much for coming, for staying, for overseeing, for listening to everybody, and thank you for your leadership, and thank you to the President of Senegal and all the countries that have joined the alliance. Thank you.